Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Making my third video here, talking about pass protections, more specifically, half slide pass protections, and how those rules can kind of adapt and change for when you move to a five-man protection. What the rules might change, like when you're seeing an even front versus an odd front. So I'll hop right in. So right now I have drawn up, an even front. Both interior guys are head up. Maybe this guy's slightly inside in the shade. Um, but for me, starting off with a half slide pass protection, you're going to start with either a rip or a Liz call, right? Or whatever R word and L word that you use in your offense to signify which side of the offensive line is sliding and which side is going to be manned up on the defensive lineman. All right, so for the purpose of this demonstration, let's go with a rip call here. So that means that the right side of the offensive line is sliding to the right. All right. So the way we differentiate who the right side of the offensive line is just everyone to the right of the center, including the center. All right. So starting off with the center, that means if we have a rip call, he's going to be responsible for his right A gap, right? He's kick sliding, probably more of a 45 fan kind of a set. Not getting too much depth here, right? Because you obviously don't want to end up in the quarterback's lap. Starting with right guard here, right? Now he's going to be responsible for his right B gap, all right? And then right tackle here, he's going to be responsible for his right C gap. All right, so right tackle here, he can probably get the most depth out of anybody, especially depending on the alignment of this defensive end or whoever the edge player is. This guy's way out here, like in one of those wide nine kind of sets, right? I'm probably going to advise my tackle to get vertical, right? Not really give up, too much ground going out to go get him, right? Being patient, letting that guy come to him. So in terms of our identifications, um, still, similar to if you tuned into my inside run um, video, you have a point linebacker or a Mike, right? You can still identify a Mike in pass protection. I'll go over that in a second. Then you'll still have your minus, right? Or a -1 backer or a -1 defender. Um, so going back to the man side, right? So I already said that you have half of your line is sliding, half of your line is going to be manned up. So for this example, right, the backside guard, his rule is always going to be he has the number one defensive lineman, 0 and beyond, right? So if this nose was in a 0, he would have to go down there and get there. And I'll go over that more when we draw up an odd front. But for this purpose, he's going to be manned up here against our nose guard. So I drew it, kind of just man on man, right? I like to kind of circle that like that when I'm drawing it and explaining it, to the players so that they understand that no matter, which gap this guy ends up taking, you're married to him no matter what. Same thing for this, tackle, our left tackle in this situation, right? So he's going to have the number 2 defensive lineman, right? So if this is our number 1, right, this defensive man is going to be our number 2. So now our tackle, he's manned up as well, right? He's mirroring this guy wherever he goes. If he goes, takes an inside move, tackle's got to power down and get there. If he goes outside and outside rush and he's more of a contained player, tackle's going to be taking a kick set, trying to get hands on. He could jump set. Both of these guys could jump set it if they wanted to. But, it's more of a game planning thing, more of a week to week kind of thing, depending on the defensive line that you're going against. All right. So now you have back to our slide side, right? Things get a little bit complicated because they're assigned to a gap as opposed to a man, right? So in a perfect world, you're thinking the slide side is responsible for kind of this imaginary triangle that you have here, if that makes sense. All right. So, even if you get something crazy where this, tackle is slanting across this guard's face, right? This guard's giving an in and in call. He's getting his eyes back to his mic, right? So now if this mic comes B gap, guard is there to pick him up. All right. Even if you get a situation as well, right, where now you got both of these guys slanting, he's slanting across his face. This tackle doesn't have to power down and try to take this inside move, right? He can give an end call because he know he has his guard here to help, right? Just in case you have a Mike who comes off the edge, or maybe if you have a Sam linebacker, or what you would call maybe your bonus player, you can kick out to that as long as this Mike doesn't come. All right. And so now the reason you have a -1, because when you have a 6-man protection, you need to know, your running back needs to know who he's responsible for picking up, right? So if I'm a running back, I'm looking for -1, or I'm looking inside out for the next available linebacker. So -1 would kind of be the primary read here when you're looking at it pre-snap, right? So he's looking to eyeball this will linebacker in this example, where you're -1. If this will doesn't come, right, now your back knows he can either help out on one of these defensive linemen who are manned up, or he can look out to a safety. Let's say, for example, we have a free safety creeping down and he wants to come off the edge, right? So I'm teaching this running back, he's looking inside out first. So, if for some reason, if a defense is sending pressure through, every single gap, right? This running back is looking inside out first. He wants to look up and pick up the most threatening guy. So for some reason, to come off the edge right here goes against our rules a little bit. It would be a very good game plan from a defensive coordinator to break our rules a little bit. But worst case scenario, you have a running back here to take the most dangerous guy. All right, so now we have pretty much the same idea, the same concept going with our half slide, but now we want to talk about if it's a 5-man protection. So if you have a 5-man protection, that means the running back is out, either out en route, or maybe you're in empty formation. You have to figure out what to do with these two guys, right? So it's a number of things you can do, but as long as your quarterback is on the same page and understanding what the entire offense is looking to do to handle additional blitzer. One thing you can do is have these two backside linemen, which is maybe a little bit more advanced for some high school teams, but you could have these two backside linemen, what you call sorting the minus, right? So that means that they're going to take the most dangerous. So if this guy is walked up, right, and he's on the line of scrimmage, then he's no longer manned up on number 2, right? This becomes your new number 2, right? And this tackle would need to get down to this B gap and go ahead and block that blitz and will linebacker. Now, if he's coming from depth, right? So that means he's not showing it pre-snap. He's not creeping up to the line of scrimmage. That means he can stay manned up on this defensive lineman because he's more of a threat because he's right at the line of scrimmage. Coming from distance or coming from depth, right? Quarterback may have to see that, and then we're throwing hot, whatever slant, whatever RPO you want to carry, just to protect yourself if you're getting a lot of backside blitzers. All right. So now I have a 3-4 defense drawn up, more of an odd front look. So now, talking about how those rules might change a little bit. They still fit within the base rules, but you just have to make sure that your players understand, some of those smaller differences and what the communication might look like. So here we'll still go with, let's say we got a rip call again. That means half the line is sliding to the right. So for this example, right, he's still kicking C gap, right? Might have to keep eyes on this outside linebacker. Again, that's kind of a game planning thing, especially if a team is more of a mid front, or something where they're still going to get to a blitz or a package where they're bringing 4 rushers, right? So sometimes it's easy to dictate if a team's going to always bring one of these overhangs that's to the boundary or to the field, or whatever is convenient, or whatever that team is used to doing. You got to be able to counter it, when you're game planning throughout the week. So for this example, again, he's kicking B gap, play side A gap. All right. So for the slide side, you're thinking that this guy, now when you go to an odd front, and that communication is very important, you're almost thinking that this backside guard is now part of the slide, right? So instead of kicking, he's taking more of his power steps or an inverted step, trying to get into the line of scrimmage and getting down there in a hurry so that he can help out with this 0, right? So now your center, it's a similar situation where he's punching with his left, he's looking to his right play side gap, making sure nothing runs through play side A. All right. So now, since he's technically a part of the slide, your backside guard here, you're thinking, similar to how for the even front we had an imaginary triangle. Now we have more of an imaginary rectangle, or what my college coach would call a parallelogram, right? Because it's a little bit slanted depending on um, the alignment of this overhang or outside linebacker, right? So either way, we're still 4 for 4, right? We got 4 offensive linemen who are responsible for these 4 defenders, okay? And similar to the even front backside tackle, he's going to be manned up on the second defensive lineman pass. That's a 0 past the center. All right. So for this one, right, we still technically have our Mike play side here. We have a -1. Even could call this guy -2, or what you would consider a bonus player. So same thing here for our backside running back, right? He wants to take most dangerous, right? So if this guy is, sometimes these overhangs are walked out over a number 2 receiver or something like that. Maybe he's playing in space, or he's more of the coverage guy. If this -1 is more of a threat, you have a running back in to protect, right? But now if, say this will linebacker isn't as much of a threat, and, you want to send your back to this outside linebacker right away, you can do that as well. All right. So it's just a little bit of, my thought process on the half slide pass protection game, what you can do to defend multiple fronts and make sure that all 5 offensive linemen plus your running back and quarterback are on the same page.